Rassie Rasmus has just dropped the 37-man squad to start the Rugby Championship for the 2 games against Australia. And notice that they've specifically said against Australia and not the Rugby Championship. Now, there's a lot to be discussed here, from a postponed squad announcement to some junior box joining the fray, debutants making it, debutants getting cut. There's a lot to discuss here, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers, and your subscription means the world to me. It allows us to keep creating this type of content. Leave this video a like, and as always, drop your opinions down in the comments. So let's break it down. This squad was actually meant to be announced yesterday, and I was waiting the whole day, and then at around 4 or 5, a notification came through that the announcement had been postponed. Now, there were I think there's a few reasons that might have happened. They were probably waiting on a couple of injury updates. They were maybe deciding on some different combinations. Does Cobus Visser stay in and play 8? Does Evan Roos stay in? Who leaves the squad? Who comes into the squad? But I do think this was almost a predetermined squad with a couple of question marks sort of leading in and using those 4 tests to answer those questions. I think Rassie Rasmus kind of knew who was going to be playing in the Rugby Championship and then used those 4 first test matches to answer a couple of questions. Now, in the 37-man squad, we've got 24 Rugby World Cup winners. We've got 5 debutants who were retained from the July incoming series. We have 3 junior books invited to train with the squad. Bathobelo Tlhakane, Cheswell Uester, and Hashim Peed. All 3 of them had absolutely unbelievable campaigns for the under-20 Springboks now when they just won the World Rugby Championship. Thomas du Toit is rested, and this is a premiership agreement from the Gallagher Premiership, is that he needs to rest for 2 weeks. It's like no questions asked, he has to rest for 2 weeks, which is why he hasn't been included in the squad. Jasper Visser is suspended. We have 7 players on standby: Lukhanyo Faf de Klerk, Makazole Mapimpi, Salman Murat, Evan Roos, Neertling Forshia, and Vincent Chichuka. So those players have been dropped from the Springbok squad for these 2 test matches against Australia, and Rassie's kind of said that they should go and train with the Currie Cup sides and get some rugby in that way. But they are on standby. There will probably be a couple of injuries throughout the Rugby Championship, so a couple of these guys will be coming up. Lukhanyo unfortunately has been injured for sort of the last 4 test matches. Faf getting dropped, so I think we can kind of see the pecking order there. So very surprisingly, Makazole Mapimpi gets dropped, and I think Rassie's going to experiment with the likes of Ethan Hooker and Kanan Moody on that wing. Salman Murat getting dropped, not too surprising. Evan Roos is a big call, because now with Jasper Visser out, we don't have an out-and-out 8. Yes, you can argue that Kwagga is an out-and-out 8, but I think he performs better coming off of the bench. You've got Cobus Visser. Yes, you do have Jean-Luc Depree, which I'm also quite surprised that has made it. I would have expected Evan Roos above him, but you know, it is what it is. And then Neertling Forshia, I mean, I think just a little bit unfortunate. We have so much depth in that prop department, didn't have too much game time. And then a big shock to me is Vincent Chichuka, who had 2 phenomenal games against the Barbarians and Italy, and has, you know, been cut and got the sword here. Rassie Rasmus, obviously he performed well, but Rassie sees something in him that potentially needs a little bit of fixing, needs a little bit of work. He's definitely not out of the conversation. But that was a shock to me. So I think that's all the general stuff covered. Now we're going to jump into who actually made the 37-man squad. As always, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I think this is a proper squad. I do have a couple of question marks around some of the selections, and we can talk about it. So 37-man squad, the front row. We've obviously gone for Ox. We've gone for Vincent Koch, Volko Low, Asenathi Nhlabakanye, Boan Venter makes it, and we have Jan-Hendrik Wessels. So those are 6 props that will be playing against Australia. All 6, 4 of them are going to start the first test match. 4 of them are going to play in the second test match. It's going to be interesting to see what combinations Rassie Rasmus goes with up there. We obviously know Ox is the front runner, and probably Volko Low at this point. Jan-Hendrik Wessels and Volko Low probably the second choice, and then Asenathi and Boan Venter are going to fight to push them a little bit. But I think we can expect all 6 props to feature in those 2 test matches. Then hookers, no real surprises here. Bongi Manambe, Malcolm Marx, and Marnus Vanamava. Jan-Hendrik Wessels can also swing as a hooker, so he is an extra hooker role. I thought Marnus van der Merwe, I mean, he had an incredible debut for the Springboks, scoring 2 tries, and then we know what we're going to get from Malcolm and Bongi. I do think Bongi has quite a lot to prove at the moment, especially with Marnus van der Merwe coming through, especially with that Jan-Hendrik Wessels can also play that position. I think he is under a little bit of pressure, and his lineouts weren't as smooth as they normally are, so I do think Bongi needs to have a big rugby championship. Overall, I think an absolutely phenomenal front row. I mean, you've got newcomers coming in, Volkolo, Asenati, Boan. You can even class Jan-Hendrik Wessels as an up-and-comer, and Marnus van der Merwe. Your only real 4 old heads there are Ox, Vincent, Bongi and Malcolm, which says a lot about the rotation that we've had over the last sort of year to 2 years. Incredible stuff. We then move over into the second row, and this was also a big debate. Is Rassie Erasmus going to take 4 locks? Is he going to take 5? Is he going to try take some utility forwards to fill in there? Well, he's answered our question with nope, he's going to take 5 locks, and then they can potentially swing as loosies. Eben Etzebeth, Archie Snyman, Louis Diache, Franco Mostert, and Ruan Nokia. Absolute, I don't think another country has that much depth in the lock department at the moment. Ruan Nokia has been absolutely phenomenal for the Springboks in that 5 jersey. I think he has that 5 jersey on lock at the moment. Obviously, Eben has the number 4, but I mean, imagine pairing up Eben Etzebeth and Louis Diache, Eben and Archie and Louis, Ruan Nokia and Franco Mostert. I mean, there's so many options that you can go there. Also Ruan and Franco Mostert can also play flank, so they bring that utility as well. Loose forwards. I also think Rassie got those lock decisions right. Into the loose forwards, we've got Pieter-Steph du Toit, Kwagga Smith, Marco van Staden, Siya Kolisi, Jean-Luc du Preez, Cobus Visser. And that is our stocks in the loose forward. So it is a little bit thin. You're looking at kind of 3 guys starting there and 2 to 3 guys being on the bench. So there isn't that many guys that aren't going to play in these 2 test matches. I think most of them will probably play. You'll probably look at having 1 guy that isn't playing per test match. But I mean, if you look at our starting pack, it's Siya, it's Pieter-Steph du Toit, and then you got to go between Jean-Luc du Preez and Cobus Visser starting at 8. I don't think we start Kwagga. Then coming off the bench is Marco van Staden, Kwagga, and then either Jean-Luc or Cobus Visser. So, I mean, a pretty stacked trio. I do think there was space to bring in Vincent Chichuka into the loose forwards. It's interesting that he hasn't, and he's gone for a little bit of a risk bringing Cobus Visser in as a loose forward. Obviously, Cobus can double as a lock as well, which I think definitely raises his stock. But I think Cobus Visser is gonna play in that 8 role against Australia, which I don't think anyone would have predicted. So that's the forward pack. I think it's a very well-balanced forward pack. I mean, I touched on the props and the old heads and the new guys. You also look at the locks. I mean, the old guys, Eben, Louis, RG, Franco maybe, and then you got Ruan Nokia, you got Cobus Visser coming through. In the loosies, you got the old guys of Pieter-Steph, Kwagga, Mark van Staden, Siya Kolisi, and then you're starting to see Jean-Luc du Preez and Cobus Visser starting to come through. So I think a very well-balanced forward pack, dangerous forward pack. And now we move into the back line, scrum offs. And we spoke about this in the intro, but Faf de Klerk has been dropped, which means our scrum offs are Grant Williams, Cobus Reinach, and Morne van den Berg. I think Morne van den Berg just pipped Faf in the selection, and rightly so, because he also had phenomenal games for the Springboks against the Barbarians in Italy. I think Grant Williams is still our number 1 scrum off at the moment, and then it's probably between Cobus and Morne. I'm not too fussed about that. Fly-offs, I mean, pretty easy. Handré Pollard, Mani Lebok, Sasha Feinberg, and Ngumazulu. I'm going to be honest, and I think Mani is our number 1 fly-off at the moment. When he is on the pitch, he has an ability to make everyone else look better. Pollard, yes, as well. I don't think Sasha has quite matured to that level yet where he's willing to take on all the pressure and everything and make everyone else look good, and maybe not so much himself. I think there is still, because he's so young, there still is that maturing that he has to do. And I do think at the moment it's probably Mani number 1, Pollard 2, and Sasha 3. So it's good for Sasha. I think he was flying so high that he kind of needed something to test him a little bit. He didn't perform great against Georgia, and now he's coming into this rugby championship with a chip on his shoulder, and now we really get to see what Sasha Feinberg Mngumezulu is about. So I'm looking forward to that so much. Then, into the centres, and very, very interesting. Damien Delende, Andre Esterhuizen. You kind of knew those were going to be our 12s. But Rassie has now gone for Jesse Kriel. Ethan Hooker retains his spot in the Springbok lineup, and Kanan Moody. Now, I do think with him dropping Makazole Mapimpi, there is going to be an opportunity for either Kanan or Ethan Hooker to play on the wing. It's probably going to be Ethan Hooker because I think Rassie Erasmus loves Kanan Moody as an outside centre. I think he's been playing phenomenally well at the outside centre role. My only concern with him in that 13 role is on defence. He missed 4 tackles against Georgia, and you just can't be doing that against the likes of New Zealand, who are just going to open you up if they can start getting through that number 13 channel. So it's going to be interesting to see where Ethan Hooker and Kanan Moody play, but we do have a lot of cover now in those centre roles. Some older guys in Damien, Andre and Jesse, and then the young guys in Ethan and Kanan sort of coming through. Then into our back 3, very interesting. Kurtley Arendse, Ches and Colby, we knew they were going to be there. Edwil van der Merwe is our 3rd wing, and like I say, we're kind of missing a wing. So I think that's going to be Kanan or Ethan Hooker. And then very surprisingly, we've gone for Apelele Fassi, Damian Willemse and Willie Leroux. So there's 3 fullbacks there. Obviously, Damian can sort of play 10, can play 12, but I would have expected Rassie Erasmus to drop Willie Leroux and open up a spot. Willie's got 100 caps now. I think that was kind of the milestone we're trying to get him to. I'm interested to see what kind of role he plays in this team. Yeah, I just think it's time to maybe start phasing Willie Leroux out. Let me know what you guys think, but I could be wrong. Let me know. So that's the 37-man side. I mean, Rassie Erasmus has made us wait for this one. He's introduced 5 debutants that retain their spots from the July incoming series, 24 Rugby World Cup winners, 3 junior Boks that have been invited to train with the Springboks. It's going to be a very, very interesting rugby championship. There's going to be so much content coming out on this channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave this video a like, and as always, drop your opinions down in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.